Ofentse, just give us the latest update. I understand that there were ultimatums set last week, but what's the latest in the capital with regards to Outsourcing Must Fall?
From the reports that we've been having from the University of Pretoria, that's where there's been intensified action. Police presence has been intensified, and there's some workers there who have gathered. So the situation is actually very tense at the University of Pretoria. We also received some correspondence from Unisa. The spokesperson of Unisa actually informed us to say that all operations that were affected last week by the protest action by disgruntled workers and the students, most of the services have been restored, and students are now encouraged to actually go and finish their registration. At the Tshwane University of Technology, as you remember, some examinations were actually deferred last year due to some protest action and intimidation. I spoke to the spokesperson this morning, Vela Director, who actually confirmed that there are some examinations that are still proceeding at the South Campus in Soshanguve and the North Campus in Soshanguve, and also in Pretoria West, where some of the examinations are being written.
Now, in the recent past, Ofentse, we've seen that the protests in the capital have had a real violent edge to them, especially around Soshanguve. We know the students aren't back in the capital yet. They're expected back in a couple of weeks. How do you see, or what do you think the next week will look like then in the capital with regards to these protests?
The situation is very tense, and it's also very unpredictable. As you know, the EFF Student Command are the ones spearheading the student protest, especially at Unisa. And they have explained that the court interdict that was received by Unisa on Friday, they will not abide by it, as they feel that Unisa is actually negotiating in bad faith. They've put their demands on the table to say that some of the contract workers are supposed to be taken in full-time and should receive a 10,000 Rand salary, including the benefits. But they felt that the step that was taken by most of the institutions of higher learning was negotiating in bad faith to actually run to the courts and receive a court interdict preventing some of the protest action from taking place. So going forward, we expect that there will be a lot of protest action taking place defying the court interdict that was actually received by most of the institutions of higher learning on Friday. So we are going to monitor the situation, keep our ear on the ground, and see where exactly most of the action is taking place, because mostly last week we saw most protest action and disruptions mostly centered at Unisa, in Sunnyside, most of the two campuses in Sunnyside. That's where most disruptions were actually seen, where we saw some of the workers who were working, and some of the protesters were calling them amagundwane, as they were not actually taking part in some of the protest action. They were actually forced outside on Thursday, and then the march proceeded to the University of Pretoria, where the same attempt was made to try and force out some of the non-striking workers, but that action was received by gunfire, where police opened fire with rubber bullets to the protesters. So we're just going to monitor and see how the situation goes. It's not predictable at all.
Yeah, the one thing that's predictable is that it's been totally unpredictable until now. Let's talk quickly about the demands that's on the table. 10,000 Rand for each worker is what Outsourcing Must Fall demands. Is that feasible? And also, where are the let's call it the average wage? Where is it at now?
According to the spokesperson at Unisa, there is an inquiry that has been formed to try and insource most of their workers at Unisa. And the process is underway, and they've also denied reports that the process has been put aside by the institution. So the process is going to take place for the next 6 months. So we'll see following 6 months as to whether which workers will actually be incorporated into the institution. As you can remember, that the protest action that is taking place now, it's actually unprotected. So that on its own, it warrants for most of the workers that are at Unisa to be fired. So how that will be handled will be actually very tricky as to how the institution will take the matter going forward. And we spoke to Nehau, which also explained that the process is also underway at some of the institutions across the country. And in fact, in the Western Cape, some of the workers have actually been insourced into the institution. So as to whether it's feasible, according to Unisa spokesperson, he actually confirmed that yes, most of the workers are going to be insourced. But some of the demands as to whether those that have been retrenched and those that have been fired recently or suspended due to taking part in this protest action, it's not clear whether they will be reinstated, because there were reports of 200 security guards who belong to a company called Red Alert who had been suspended for taking part in the protest actions at Unisa. So we'll just see the future for them as to what will transpire.
Now, Unisa itself is shut at the moment. Is that still the case? And do we see the other institutions being totally shut down as well?
The one that I can definitely confirm this morning that it's still shut down is the University of Pretoria. But Unisa, we received correspondence to say that all the services have been reinstalled, registration and everything else. If you want to go to inquire as to maybe you want to register there, you can go. Actually, the services have been reinstated. Tshwane University of Technology, they have also confirmed that the exams that were deferred last year, they are now continuing this year. So it seems it's only tax, as it's affectionately known by the locals here, or University of Pretoria, that's currently affected by the protest action, because we heard that police presence has actually been intensified there, and there are some workers who are actually gathering outside the institution.
Ofentse, thank you very much for that update. That's our reporter in the capital, Ofentse Setimo. He's telling us that, the capital's on tenterhooks. They don't really know what to expect with this protest. It's unpredictable. What will happen next? They'll keep us updated as to how things develop around the nation's capital. With regards to fees must fall, and then now outsourcing must fall is also causing some consternation now. We move on. The National Speaker, Baleka Mbete,